Hello and welcome to Inside Sports. I'm your host, Todd Blackstock. We have a fun show for you today as former New England Patriots running back Laurence Maroney is in the house. And later, award-winning broadcaster from Washington University, Jay Murry, just hit a career milestone and he'll join us as well. So stay with us for this and much more coming up next on Inside Sports. Today holds the single-season rushing record at Normandy High School in St. Louis. He starred at the University of Minnesota and was drafted in the first round of the 2006 NFL Draft by the New England Patriots. Now his foundation is helping kids battle mental health. At this time, we welcome Laurence Maroney to Inside Sports. Laurence, thanks a lot for joining us.
No, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
And I tell you what, you started playing football at a young age, and you went the route that a lot of people go. And that's starting out in the JFL here in St. Louis, and everybody loves playing JFL football.
For sure, it was the best. I think that's where you learn a lot of your basics. A lot of your fundamentals. I learned a lot of my toughness there. Really just how to be on an organized team. I never did that until I got to Hoover. So, I definitely appreciate that moment because it gave me my foundation to keep going.
Now, were you pretty successful? I mean, were you a running back at Hoover?
Oh, no.
No, I didn't. You weren't a running back.
No, I didn't get to see the offensive side. I was more of a linebacker.
Okay. You're bigger?
I played from. No, I wasn't really big. I was just, my same size. Just we had a lot of other great running backs at the time. You know what I'm saying? And I get it. I tried it. I just didn't get the job. So, I was always that type of guy that, that didn't work, but I'm going to be a star. So I'm going to just go be a star on the other side of the ball, and that's what I did.
So what other sports did you play in JFL?
I did baseball, won a few state championships, took the team to internationals, and I did basketball, which,
It wasn't your sport.
No, it wasn't. Not until I got more so like 8th grade and I can dunk. Then it became more of my sport.
You could dunk in 8th grade?
For sure.
Man, how tall were you?
About 5'10".
Okay, that's pretty good for 5'10".
Yeah, athletics was on my side.
Yeah, you got those springboard legs, huh?
For sure.
So then you went on to Normandy High School, a prominent high school here in the St. Louis area, good coaching staff. I understand they've got really great facilities there as far as working out and things.
The best gym for sure. Our facilities are second to none. If anything, like I say, our kids should come out looking like action figures, man. Our weight room is I would put it on the college level.
So 1,900 yards rushing your senior year. I guess the scouts were coming around, sniffing you out, peeking around. What path did it take or took you to the University of Minnesota?
I'm just try to give it to you in a short version. So my brother I was a big fan of my brother. He and some of my family was from Ohio, and they was real big Ohio State fans. Mm-hmm. And so, my family really supported me a lot. So I'm like, well, I didn't really grow up watching football or sports. So I was like, all right, I want to go to Old State just, because it's my brother's favorite team. Old State didn't end up sending me not one letter.
Nothing?
No. They had Maurice Clarett. They just won the national championship. They wasn't looking for me. And so my next option was, well, I never really, been to St. Louis. And I know, my thought process, well, my family can't travel. What's the closest spot to home is either Mizzou or Illinois. And so Illinois was recruiting me hard. And I went up there, took a visit. I liked it. There was a lot of St. Louis guys up there, a lot of guys from East and, just over the St. Louis area. So I'm like, ooh, I'm going to Illinois. My family can make it. First week of recruiting, they dropped my scholarship.
Really?
Yeah, Pierre Thomas and I actually took a visit at the same time, and he signed. And so they dropped my scholarship, and so I was asking my friends, like, who play Illinois and who play Old State? And he said Minnesota, and I said, boop, there it is, And that's how I chose Minnesota.
So Mizzou wasn't in the mix?
They definitely was, but it was just, I'm not afraid of competition. They just had too many running backs, at the time. I know Dede was coming. I think Zach Abram was still there. Brad was there. Then I remember A.J. Kincaid went there. They moved him to defense. I think Darnell Terrell out of Eureka was coming out my year. They moved him to defense, and it was like I wanted my opportunity at running back. I didn't want to go there and get moved like all the other great running backs from St. Louis that came out around that era all went to defense. Tyrone Roberson, he went there. So it was just like, it's too much going on.
Well, so you go to Minnesota. You had a pretty good running back mate there as well, who also played in the NFL. And your first 3 years, you hit 1,000 yards rushing, and then it was time for the NFL draft. But who was that running back that you maybe shared a little time with at Minnesota?
Marion Barber, man, he was nothing less than amazing. I was really a, athletic, talented athlete, I like to say myself, and it was like every time I watched him, it was like, ooh, it's something special about him. And so, he really gave me he really took his time with me and really took me under his wing, really taught me how to be a patient running back, really how to read the defense and things like that. So I commend him because he didn't have to do that. We was essentially battling for the same position, but we realized that, we worked well together, and we just really took over college at that time.
So you end up getting drafted in the first round by the New England Patriots. He dropped to the 4th. Now, what was it like when you get a phone call from Bill Belichick, the renowned Belichick? He seems like such a stern coach, and he's winning a lot of titles and things.
Don't get me wrong, he's straightforward. And I remember when he called me, I was at Herbert Hoover. And he was like, hey, this is Belichick. We're on the clock. We're thinking about drafting you. Then he put me on hold. And I felt like, at that time, I think it was probably like 2-3 minutes, but it felt like forever. And I was really ready to hang up. But he get back on the phone, and he was like, yeah, we're going to take you with the 21st pick. And then he started breaking down all the organization do's and don'ts and rules.
What were some of the don'ts?
I can't even remember at that time.
Upstanding,
I can't even remember at that time because at that point I probably wouldn't even listen, and I was really, really stuck in shock. To really think about it, coming from St. Louis, coming out of Herbert Hoover, going to Normandy, and going to Minnesota and dominating, and just hearing Bill Belichick saying, "Hey, we're gonna take you with the 21st pick." I was really stuck in shock, and then for me to walk to the front of the room where everybody was at in front of the TV, and then just hear the commissioner say, with the 21st pick, New England Patriots select Laurence Maroney, and just watching the whole crowd erupt, I'm thinking it was a feeling that, man, I wish I can go back and feel.
Well, 2007, the Patriots go 16-0 in the regular season. You make it all the way to the Super Bowl in like 1 or 2 plays, or you guys have the perfect season. How did that feel? Winning, having the high of that, and then boom.
For me, I was really trying to keep my emotions in check because it was like it was my second year. I'm still really learning the ropes, and now we pick up a Randy Moss. We picking up more Hall of Famers. So it's like I'm really trying to balance being a fan and being a professional, because it's just like, wow, like I grew up with Moss. I grew up with Junior Seau and watching the Rodney Harrises. It's like, wow, I'm on the same field as these guys. And so, when we started that year off, we started with the Spygate, and we trying to take everything away from that. So when we got to winning, it was really a passing affair at the beginning of the season, and then we started running, and I started coming on late in the season, going into the playoffs, having the 200-yard games, and going into the Super Bowl. It was like I always dreamed of it, and I never imagined, me actually being there. But it was a wonderful time.
After 4 years with the Patriots, they traded you to the Broncos. And I guess it was in the off season, there was like a little incident where you had a gun, but it was legal, you had the permit, and then you got caught up and got some bad publicity, and the Broncos didn't sign you. That must have been pretty devastating, mentally, as all of a sudden you don't feel like maybe you didn't do anything wrong, but then all of a sudden, you're out of football.
It was. I think at the time, I was young, and I really didn't have the full right team to really help me through the process, and I didn't think I was really taking it as serious as it was, because it was like I knew for a fact the story is fabricated, it's a lie. I know I was innocent, so I didn't really think it was as big as it was until I started seeing it on CNN and ESPN. I'm like, wow, like they really making this a big thing. And so I know it happened in January, and they really stretch it out into June. And when I was acquitted and I couldn't get picked up, it was like, wow, and so I went down to Miami, trained for the next 2 years and couldn't even get a workout. And I was like, wow, I know I did enough. I know I didn't have 1,000, but I knew from the years I did play in New England and my stats, it was enough for a second chance. And really not getting that second chance really took me on a dive.
Sure, and I'm sure you missed the camaraderie with the guys and things like that, but you turned it into a positive. And now you've got this great foundation, LM39, and you're doing some great things in the community. We got a couple minutes left. Let's talk about that to finish up the show.
Oh yeah, so so now that the conversation about mental health is really starting to get the light, throughout my foundation, I wanted to keep the light on it and really focus on the athletes, because I think we don't get enough attention about our mental health. It's always more about the physical health, the physical attributes. So, just from my personal experiences and just me going down that slippery slope, trying to figure out how am I getting out the hole, what's next for me, having an identity crisis, who am I as a man, as a person. It was rough, and so really, on my journey and path to finding out the necessary resources to help me, I wanted to share them with the community, and so that's when we came with the foundation, and my event is really a mental health resource event, to where it's going to be a lot of resources to take away from the event. It's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of on-the-field activities, games, yoga, meditation, just things to really a family fun event.
Now, you had an event last year at Normandy.
Yes.
And now you're coming up, and you've got a couple of events coming up at the end of May.
Yeah, so it's the second annual Mental Health Jamboree, to where we also starting our NFL flag football league for ages 5, 6, and 7. And so we really need to push these next 2 weeks to get more kids signed up to make sure we can start this league and it can be a success, and for it give us a foundation to start there and build from it.
Nice. If somebody wants to get a hold of you or get a hold of the foundation and participate in this, because you got the flag football thing going on and some other events, where should they go? LM39foundation.com. You can go to the website, follow us. You can register to be a sponsor. You can donate a kid, or you can donate sponsor a team. You can sponsor a kid on the website, and you can follow LM39 Foundation on Instagram and Facebook. Is there an age group?
5, 6, and 7.
Okay, so you're going for the young guys.
Yeah,
huh?
you just get them, start them now, and bring them up and train them the right way.
I got 15 seconds left. Is Tom Brady the GOAT? And what was the hardest you got hit by a defensive player?
That's the easiest question. For sure, Tom Brady the GOAT. I wouldn't pick nobody above him. You see his accolades, you see his stats. Who can you put in front of him? And I think the hardest hit, I think Sean Taylor. I think it was a preseason game, and he got me, and I didn't really appreciate that.
Well, thanks a lot. One more time, the website.
LM39foundation.com.
LM3 Foundation?
No, LM39.
LM39, your number?
Yes, LM39foundation.com.
All right, well, Laurence, thank you so much for joining us in Inside Sports. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Well, stay with us as record-setting broadcaster Jay Murry from WashU will join us after the break. We'll be right back.
I don't know why you're so sad. You've got a roof over your head.
You gotta stop with that depression stuff.
That's what white people think. You all right?
It just feels like it's coming from everywhere.
Do you want to talk about it?
You can talk to me if you're feeling sad.
Whenever you need to talk, I'm here, okay?
I've always been told I gotta be strong. Thick skin, tough as nails. But to be everything for everybody, it wears on you. Black don't crack, they say. But it can. We all can. Reach out to a friend if you see them going through it. No matter who you are, being vulnerable is what makes us whole. Learn how to help at seizetheawkward.org.
next guest today is the longtime broadcaster at WashU, who I did a little radio with back in the 1990s. Jay Murry, welcome to the show. How you doing,
Todd?
my friend?
It's great to see you. It's been too long, man.
Great to see you too. I remember going to the Air Awards ceremony, and we were all up for a few of those back in the mid-1990s, and we had a lot of great camaraderie. And I believe I know that I met you at a summer broadcast camp that Art Holliday and Kim Hibbs put on.
Yeah, one Productions, yeah.
Yeah, and they brought in, people like Dan Deerdorf and Jack and Joe Buck and Bob Costas, Kevin Harlan.
Yeah, I got to pick up Kevin from the airport. That was a big
That
thrill.
must have been a big thing.
It
And I
was. It was
remember
fun.
a lot of times, I know you're a few years ahead of me, and I think you were just graduating from Lindenwood and broadcasting or something. But everybody does huge lines to get, so I was like kind of chummed up with you a little bit to try to get your personal one-on-one, and I really appreciated that. And we ended up at KWRE, 5:30 a.m. in Warrenton, and KFAV in the Westplex. You went on to a long career there, including the high school basketball and football games, but I think you were the news and sports director, and I believe I used to refer to you as Mr. Westplex.
Yeah, I covered a lot of it. I mean, we covered a 6-county area, and I was involved, first of all, in high school sports, but I wanted to broaden my horizons and actually become full-time, and to do that, I had to go into news, and so I ended up doing news anchoring, reporting, and along with the sports.
I believe you started out at WashU for a year or two before that, which is very impressive. I remember you like to do some quirky things. I mean, when you're radio, there's 40, 50 radio stations. Sometimes you got to separate yourself from the other guy.
Yep.
And what was it? You sat on top of a sign or a billboard.
Yeah.
Something for like a couple of days.
When I was on WGNU, my broadcast partner Brian Houseworth and I, we were a part of a situation where I think either the Post-Dispatch or Globe Democrat had a contest where they would bring in people and they would predict, the slate of NFL games, and to see if they would be successful. And I said at one point, I said if the Rams lost to the Cardinals, the football Cardinals, then we'll sit on a billboard. Well, of course, what happened that the Cardinals upset the Rams, and so Brian and I sat on a billboard for 24 hours when I was at WGNU.
That's pretty cool. You probably got a little. I remember you got some pretty good publicity.
We did. Yeah, almost caught our death up there. It rained for a lot of the time up there.
Oh my gosh! Did you have a raincoat?
Oh, I had rain gear, but still, it was kind of cold and chilly.
I mean, did you have a porta potty? Did you?
Well, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. We took care of the business. We had things that we could use to take care of business.
All right, we'll move on. Shortly after that, you went back to WashU, and you've been there for a long time now. I want to congratulate you. You're the recipient of honors at WashU. You've recently broadcasted your 1,000th game at WashU. Is this all games? I mean, where did you start out at?
Well, I did 2 seasons of football at WashU, as you mentioned, in '94 and '95. And then I worked at KWRE and KFAV for 14 years. Then when the economy went bad in 2008, I got laid off. So I called Chris Mitchell, who was the sports information director at the time. I said, you guys got any play-by-play opportunities? And he said, well, you know what? We're putting together this online streaming play-by-play platform. And I said, I want to be a part of it. And so there were some hiccups along the way, so I didn't know if things were going to be set up, but all of a sudden, Chris sends me an email, goes, hey, we got this straightened out, send me a tape. That was like the longest half hour of my life because I'm waiting, I sent an MP3 file, and so I'm looking at my watch, wondering what they're going to think about it. So they finally emailed me back, said, okay, sounds great, football season starts in a week, be there and we'll get started.
There you go. So I understand you're at the forefront of streaming, and I think you came in doing a little volleyball.
Yeah, I helped pitch in with Bill Bomarito, who was our main volleyball voice at WashU. He's now retired. So he and I he'd handled the volleyball, and I started with men's and women's basketball and football, and then things progressed from there where I started to move into spring sports as well. So I do everything except volleyball, and I've done track and field, soccer, swimming and diving, whatever is on our air. Except for volleyball, I've done it.
That was a pretty visionary thing in radio back then when you start the streaming. Because now streaming is becoming pretty prevalent, and it's probably the future if you look at what's going on with Bally Sports Midwest and some other outlets. And what was it like in the very beginning? You said there was a few things you needed to iron out, but I mean, it seems like it's been ironed out.
Yeah, it's been ironed out. There's always some growing pains that that take place, they're technologically, trying to keep up with things and keeping things, working properly. But Chris Mitchell was great. I mean, he handled the broadcasting aspect of it, and along with his sports information duties, so they just kept growing. We kept adding more features. We had instant replay, and we got that kind of capability, and so it's progressed to where, we try to set the standard of being online and providing that to a very small. It's not small. Right now we've got a pretty wide listenership across the country and around the world. All the WashU alums who are doing great, and with our first broadcast, we had a guy that was tuning in on a yacht on the Mediterranean, and then another person was in Brazil.
Wow.
On our first weekend, that first football game against Greenville.
I would have to say Chris Mitchell is one of the most impressive individuals I've ever worked with.
No question.
We work the St. Louis Surge. I do the public address there, and he's feeding me information, who got the assist, who got the block, and while he's typing and keeping the professional game stats and everything. So kudos to him. He helped hook this up as well today. Talking about a lot of streaming activities. You once covered the Guinness Book of World Records, and it was something that had like 10.7 million views from what I read. Can you fill us in? It was something pretty quirky too.
Yeah, Kevin Hayes was a swimmer at WashU, and he also had a kind of a side venture, if you will, of solving Rubik's Cubes. And this particular day at the 13 Carnival several years ago, he was going to set a world record by solving the most Rubik's Cube with one breath underwater. So he would take a breath, go underwater, and then solve as many Rubik's Cubes as he can before he could come up. And so I was called to narrate that and broadcast it. And so I thought, okay, I'll be a part of a world record attempt, sure. And sure enough, he set a world record of solving 8 Rubik's Cubes in one breath. And he must have held his breath for something like, he must have held his breath for like 2 minutes, or maybe even longer than that.
I don't even see how you could. Couldn't even do one in 8 minutes, or in 2 minutes.
I've never done a Rubik's Cube. I've never solved one in my entire life, and he's just sitting there, just okay. There's one, there's two, there's all underwater and holding his breath, and I was like, man, you must have lungs of iron, and they must.
WashU's had some tremendous athletes and student athletes. Most athletes, in my opinion, like Troy Roos and people like that, they go to WashU to get an education, to be a doctor or something like that, and they happen to be great athletes. How cool is it to get to work with such a special group of people at WashU?
It's wonderful, because not only are the athletes great to me, they're always very respectful. Mr. Murray, how are you? And the parents and family members have been so supportive of what I do, and so I put in as much effort as I can. I stay up till 1 or 2 in the morning to prep for games sometimes, because I want to make sure that they get as close to quality as an ESPN broadcast as possible, because they're paying the money to have their son or daughter to go to school there. So it's a lot of fun, and it's, as you say, they're there for the education, because there are some athletes. One in particular, Chris Klimek, was a basketball player, and he was injured for part of his career, so he had 1 more year left. He had a 5th year if he wanted to. I said, Chris, you coming back to play basketball? He goes, no, I've got a nice gig at Target. 80,000 a year to start. I'm good.
Oh my gosh!
So it's great to the future leaders of our country. They're great kids, and they're very laser focused on what they want to do, and they get it done. And it's just phenomenal to be a part of that.
Another thing you like to do are these like solo major marathon things, and I've seen you on the news a few times doing that. I understand that's for charity, and you like doing that. How do you keep doing it at your age?
I've been blessed with great knees and a great back, I do this for Rett syndrome awareness and research. It's called Rett Gets Rocked. I do a solo ultra marathon each year, either a 24-hour. I'm going to try to do this year, try to do 100 miles inside the Summers Rec Center. This will be like 1,000 laps of a 1/10 of a mile track. So, but I met a girl named Ellie McCool that when I work at Fort Zumwalt West High School as a special education paraprofessional. So I help teachers with lesson plans and help the kids get what they need to get done. So a young lady named Ellie McCool comes to our school. She's in a wheelchair, and she can't speak, but she has got eyes. I mean, she's taken in everything. She knows exactly what's going on. And I'm like, you know what? I've never seen that kind of combination before. So I talked to her caregiver and fellow para, Katie Bush, and Katie told me about what Rett syndrome was, because I didn't know what it was. and how sinister it is. And so the more I found out about that, the more I thought, you know, I got to do something. I got to, you know, raise awareness in whatever way I can figure out. And with my broadcasting at WashU, I was able to, you know, put these ultramarathons together, and through my broadcasting, you know, raise awareness and raise about, you know, about short of $30,000.
If someone wants to donate to that or get more information about Rett syndrome and what you do with them, Jay, what should they do?
RettSyndrome.org is the website. It's the International Rett Syndrome Foundation. From there, they can just, there's a link on the upper right-hand corner. You can click on that, and if you want to make a donation, you can type in honor of Jay Murray or whatever, and you can just make that donation right online.
Perfect. We have another minute or so left. Let's go back to the 1,000th broadcast. I watched it on the news, and it kind of inspired me to, I know Jay, we worked together back in the day. That was pretty classy at WashU to let you throw out the first pitch, and we've got video of all that. How'd that make you feel, getting honored by your school?
It's wonderful, because you hope that, you know, you are doing a great job. You hope that you're fulfilling what the parents and the school want from you, and as far as broadcasting, to have that longevity and to be able to have that, you know, that recognition and support it just means everything. It's just been a phenomenal relationship. I hope it continues for another 1,000 games.
We have 30 seconds left. Who are some of your favorite coaches and players, and maybe favorite interviews of all time?
Favorite interview of all time, I was back in my radio days. I interviewed Deacon Jones.
No kidding.
Yeah, he had written a book called Head Slap, and so I was able to talk to him. Great interview. Some of the folks that I enjoy as far as play-by-play, some of the Jack Buck, obviously. Kevin Harlan has been a nice mentor for me as well. So, yeah, a couple of those guys have really helped, you know, steer me in the right direction, and here we are.
Any final thoughts?
Well, thank you for allowing me to come on and talk about what I've done at WashU, and especially about my work for Rett syndrome. It's a pleasure to be here. It's good to see you, man. I haven't seen you for a long time, so it's good to reconnect.
All right, Jay. Absolutely love to get together sometime
Absolutely,
soon.
no question.
All right. That's our show for today. We'd especially like to thank our studio guests. We'd like to thank you for watching Inside Sports at Home on STL TV. Experience St. Louis.